I just realized, look at his health. What?
I actually wasn't just getting ass blasted into Uganda.
I still have 9 shots left. Recently, I made a video going over one of the most broken legendary DPS weapons currently in the game, that being the Unvoiced shotgun, insert thumbnail here. In today's video, I want to do a follow-up and talk about a demonic full DPS build catering around this weapon and how to output some absurd damage in any boss fight that allows you to utilize close range damage. To get started, let's quickly go over what you want on Unvoiced itself. I'm rocking a redirection perk in the 3rd column and bait and switch in the 4th column. The rest don't really matter, although if you want to be a perfectionist, then ideally you'd want assault mag or at least tac/appended mag in column 2. For our damage perks, bait and switch is giving us a 30% damage buff when we rotate all 3 weapons on a boss, and then for redirection, to give you the simple version, the perk allows you to build stacks every time you hit a low rank combatant, aka red bar enemies, for a total max of 30. Then, hitting high rank targets, aka yellow bar enemies, provides you a damage buff at the cost of your stacks. When enhancing this perk, you get a whopping 100% damage increase every time you shoot. And just to be clear, each stack provides 50%, though you do lose 2 stacks every shot, hence 100%. One final note on redirection stacking: when you are shooting red bars, normally you would get 2 stacks per hit. But if you're just outside of your intended range and you hit a target, you'll get 4 stacks instead of 2. Just thought I'd mention that for ammo purposes. And while we're at it, and talking about ammo, how do we keep our ammo up since redirection takes ammo to get the stacks up? And that's a very easy solution this episode. First, we have All Reliable and Special Finisher. Then, we have Dreadful Finisher in the Artifact, which is basically just baby Special Finisher, and you do it at the same time with 1 finisher. And lastly, we have a Scav mod in our boots. More on that later. So, given the nature of bait and switch, naturally, that means we must use our other weapons. It's literally not a choice, it is mandatory. So since we must rotate weapons, we should be taking full advantage of that as best as we can. Enter Heathen's Vengeance, currently the best rocket launcher in the game by a mile. Despite Heathen's being the wrong affinity for this, Unvoiced is Void, Heathen's is Solar, the utility it provides on top of its damage is too good to pass up. Also, all the Void rockets suck ass in comparison to Heathen's in the game currently. Heathen's Vengeance has a unique origin trait only obtainable on Vault of Glass weapons called Time Lost Magazine, which states, when your super expires, this weapon's magazine is doubled for a long duration, which is 20 seconds, and reloads from reserves. Basically, what this means is for 20 seconds, you can hold 2 shots at a time, which is already great for a rocket, but we're then going to combine that with the Legend Incarnate Artifact mod, which boosts the damage of all weapons with the Time Lost Magazine origin trait, and then we'll be pairing those with the perk rolls of Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch. Since we're already doing that with Bait and Switch for Unvoiced, this perk is a no-brainer, especially since Elemental Honing is not optimal for a pure Arc-Titan build anyway. And then, Envious Arsenal will automatically reload our mag when we do damage with our other 2 weapons, and thanks to Time Lost Magazine, it loads 2 shots instead of 1. Lastly, we have our kinetic weapon. This can be virtually any weapon, but in this particular setup, we're running Wither Horde for quick, continuous, and passive damage, allowing us to focus mainly on Unvoiced and Heathens. If for some reason you don't have Wither Horde and its Catalyst, which gives it auto-loading, you can swap that out for Lost Signal, which is a weapon you can currently get at Failsafe in the Helm, or just do the seasonal activities for Echo. Lost Signal is basically Wither Horde, except it doesn't stick to the target, but it still does DOT over time. If you don't have either, you can literally use any weapon as long as you can apply Bait and Switch quickly. So that's the weapons. We'll get back to them for the rotation in a bit, but let's go over the rest of the kit first. We are, of course, rocking our Titan, as we've been seeing in the footage, and we're going to be maximizing the crazy damage utility that Titans can bring in both Stormskeep, which allows us to play Bolt Charge Simulator, as well as utilizing Thunder Crash with the Curse of the Falling Star exotic to give us the best damage super in the game right now. For aspects and fragments, it's nothing that you haven't seen before, but for the sake of covering all bases, I'll go over them. The first one was, of course, Stormskeep to get Bolt Charge. Our second one is a toss-up depending on how comfortable you are with no self-healing and how much you really want to optimize your damage. You can opt to go with Knockout, which I think most people should go with, as it provides you free unlimited healing by just punching things in the face before you get to damage. However, if you're confident in staying alive, you can opt to go with Touch of Thunder instead. Normally, this is a nothing burger. However, this episode has a very specific role that significantly helps you in terms of damage because it provides you Ionic Traces when you use your grenades. For those unaware, when collecting an Ionic Trace, you get ability energy. This includes super energy, and on top of this, there's an artifact mod, Elemental Siphon, which has a boost that converts your Ionic Traces into bonus super energy. Essentially, what this does is it fuels you to get a second Thunder Crash during a boss damage phase assuming you haven't turned the boss into melted cheese by then anyway. But again, the choice comes down to preference and how long a boss fight is. For our fragments, here are the 4 that I use from left to right. First is Spark of Resistance, one of the best defensive fragments in the game. This gives us bonus damage resist when surrounded by combatants, and that is very common for the Destiny endgame. Spark of Frequency specifically gives us increased stacks of Bolt Charge, which in turn lets us hit more lightning strikes faster, and as an added bonus, when we do hit max stacks of Bolt Charge, we also become amplified thanks to Flashover, the artifact mod. Speaking of Flashover, this also gives us a massive damage boost to our Bolt Charge strikes. Then we also pair it with Defibrillating Blast to heal us every single time that we do proc Bolt Charge on a boss. And I know what you're thinking, the mod makes it sound like you have to stun a champion to get that heal. No, it's just any Bolt Charge proc, period. Our third fragment is Spark of Shock, just for some added jolt damage when using our grenades. And lastly, we have Spark of Focus for increased regen for our class ability after sprinting for a short time, just to have our barricades on hand as soon as possible. But I will say, if you want to swap this out, you could put Spark of Magnitude instead for making our pulse grenades last longer on a target. That's all for fragments, but there's one artifact mod to mention to top off our damage stacking, and that's going to be Limit Break. Limit Break gives us a 30% damage boost to our super when you are either critically wounded or if you have an active buff matching your super. In this case, we're using Arc, so we need an Arc buff to match. Well, that's laughably easy to accomplish here because just simply popping your barricade gives you both stacks of Bolt Charge and also will give you Amplified, and both of those count as arc buffs, so your Limit Break Thunder Crash is instantly live to do maximum damage. So, we've covered our gear, our kit, and the notable artifact mods. Let's go over the rotation now. This rotation is actually pretty straightforward once you get used to it. It may look a little intimidating at first, but trust me, it's easy to learn. To start, you just need to put down your barricade. This will let you and your teammates build up Bolt Charge stacks, which will then turn into passive damage for everybody. Next, you want to launch your super at the boss, but right before you do that, prime your bait and switch with 2 of the 3 weapons used in this rotation and leave Unvoiced for last. The idea here is to hit Wither Horde for damage, and then Heathens for damage, and also to empty its mag, and then lastly, hit your grenade and Thunder Crash. The reason I mentioned Heathens being empty is because you'll then fill 2 shots into your mag from 0 rather than going from 1 to 2. It's not crazy tech or anything, but it lets you cycle through your rockets just slightly quicker if you're in a long phase. This applies to any build that rocks Heathens, by the way, not just this build specifically. Anyway, after you hit your Thunder Crash, it's now time to face fuck the boss with your shotgun. Simply aim for the crate, and you should be doing something like 200,000 damage per shot to a boss, which is insane damage for a legendary. Anyway, once you notice your bait and switch timer is fading, this is when you whip out one more rotation with Wither Horde and Heathens, and thanks to the Heathens origin trait, you'll have 2 rockets to fire off before going back to Unvoiced to finish things off. Overall, this is a fantastic option for close range DPS and can clown pretty much any boss in the game that will let you get near them. As for Unvoiced itself, in case you're curious, Unvoiced as a legendary is comparable to Lord of Wolves, though of course Lord of Wolves is much easier to use, and in some cases straight up beats Legend of Acreus. That's a legendary shoddy keeping up with 2 of the best DPS exotics in the game, by the way. Before we close things out, let's talk about armor mods. As always, all this will be available as a dim build down in the description below. You won't find anything crazy there, but there's a few things I want to point out with these mods. Alright, rapid fire, here we go. In my helmet, I have 1 copy of Dynamo to get a lower super cooldown, pretty straightforward. I have 1 Siphon mod. In this particular case, instead of Wither Horde during the ad clearing section before you get the damage, I put on Tinashe's Mastery and just clear ads if I need to, besides getting redirection stacks for Unvoiced anyway. And then I have 1 copy of Radiant Light to give my teammates an armor charge for their surges when I pop my Thunder Crash. In the arms, I have 1 copy of Heavy Handed to make an orb when I use my melees, 1 copy of Void Loader for Unvoiced, and then 1 copy of Void Dexterity, same thing, for Unvoiced. In the chest, I have 2 resist mods depending on what enemy I'm fighting, and then 1 copy of Void Reserves just for extra ammo with Unvoiced. Now in the boots, this is where it gets a little bit different. So normally you'd be like, oh, you have 3 Surge mods in your boots to boost the damage, right? And I do. But before that, we want to stack up armor charges in our boots before we get there. So that's why I have 1 Scav mod to replenish ammo for my Unvoiced as I'm getting stacks for redirection. And I'm also healing myself anytime I pick up an orb, as well as getting energy back for my barricade. And then, when I do Special Finisher, which requires 3 armor charges, by the way, I'll make green for my Unvoiced. And then, when damage is about to begin, I'll swap my boots to another pair, or the same pair, that'll just have 3 Void Surges on it, and I go into damage with 3 armor charges already active, not needing orbs from, like, a well. And then my class item, like I just mentioned, Special Finisher is here to get ammo back once my stacks are ready. I have 1 copy of Time Dilation to extend my armor charges when I do have them live, and then 1 copy of Bomber just to get my grenade back a little bit quicker. By the way, in case I wasn't clear, when I said you just hold your armor charges in this setup, when you don't have surges on or anything like Font of Wisdom or anything, you literally just keep your armor charges forever. There is no timer on them. The timer will begin once you swap to your Void Weapon Surge mods. Anyway, that is it. That's the build. It's fantastic. Try it out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Speaking of which, if you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing today. It does help the channel grow and is much appreciated. If you want to go the extra mile, you could leave a like and or comment below as well. If you don't know what to leave as a comment, you can leave Unvoiced as the comment. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.